Hi everybody, I hope you all are having an amazing day and an amazing week. I wanted to come on here and make this video about something that's super important, okay? So I went to a store today and on the window it had a sign that said, "No mask, no service." And that bothered me, and I'll get to why that bothered me in a moment. And there's two main reasons, and I'll address that in a second. But it was very interesting because I took a picture of it and I circled it and I put it on my Instagram story, and on that picture I also wrote something along the lines of, "This is totally illegal." So as you can imagine, I got a lot of different responses from that. I got a few that were like, "Yay, like good for you for putting that up," and then a lot of people had questions and a lot of people came back to argue. And I didn't put it up to argue with people. I didn't put it up to convince anybody of anything. I really put it up because I just felt, when you have like this gut feeling, you just feel like you have to do something. I just felt like this burning desire that I needed to do this. I felt like it was wrong and I felt like I had to do it. But it actually was a really great experience because I got to see a lot of different people's perspectives. So some people, I'll give you some responses and I'll get into more about that. So a few responses that I got were along the lines of, why don't you just wear the mask? It's 30 minutes in a grocery store every few days. Like, what's the problem with that? So that's one type of response I got. Another response is like, why are you arguing with what the law is? And I'll address that. And another response I got was, that's just the way it is. Like, why does it even matter? Or no, it's not illegal. Or what makes you think it's illegal? And I got a bunch of articles too. So those are the typical responses that I got, and I'm going to address everything. So there's two main reasons why I'm bringing up this mask thing, okay? There's two. Number one is the medical side of things. I know there's a big debate of whether the masks actually work or not, or what type of masks work, so I'm going to get into all of that. And the second issue is a legal issue. Does forcing someone to wear a mask go against the Constitution? Is that illegal? So I'm going to address all of that. So the first thing we're going to get into is the medical side of things, okay? Like, are masks even necessary? Because if someone feels the mask is totally necessary, then it doesn't matter if it's a legal issue or not, because they're going to be on the side of wearing the mask. So we're going to address the medical side first. So there's a really amazing website and organization called FTBA. And the website is ftbagency.com. And I definitely recommend you go and read it and read through the website. There's so many articles that it literally has like tagged sources to because it goes into detail about the importance of masks. And we're going to go into all of that, or the lack of importance of masks. And we're going to go into all of that in a moment. So on the website, and this is all coming straight from the website, it's an amazing resource and I've learned so much from reading through there, but I've also taken it into my own hands, my health into my own hands, and I've done a tremendous amount of research regarding masks and regarding COVID. Because I want to be informed, the media has an agenda and I want it to be informed, and also it's very likely this video can be taken down or will be taken down. Okay, so to get into the ftbagency.com website, okay, so it starts off on the resource page and it says, it's titled Importance of Breathing. Okay. We all know, before doing any research of anything, we all know that breathing is important. Okay. Obviously. So I'm going to go into a few things that it says. So it says breathing is a vital biological activity to physical and emotional well-being. So it's not just physical, but it's also emotional well-being. So it's talking about that. And then it says oxygen is the number one nutrient for every living organism, including us humans. Okay, so that is like the most important. If you don't have oxygen, you die. Like, that's what happens. And that's why so many people, were put on ventilators and, they're having a breathing issue, because if you don't have oxygen, you do not live. Okay, so and it talks about wearing a face mask is an unhealthy obstruction of oxygen flow that can lead to low oxygen level in the blood and low oxygen level in the tissue. Both of these conditions are health-threatening and can permanently damage the brain, lungs, heart, and just about any other organ. So I could stop right there and this video could be over, because that's enough of a reason to not have me wear a mask. But I'm going to continue. Let's see. Wearing a face mask has also a very important effect on our psychology. I'm sure you guys know this. This is very logical. So it's not just, is this a physical health thing? Am I going to get COVID or not? It really has an effect on our psychology. It says it is a psychological anchor for suppression, enslavement, and cognitive obedience. When you wear a mask, you are complicit in declaring all humans as dangerous, infectious, and threats. How long do you think it will be before your social engineers tell you that talking spreads the virus further and they forbid talking? So that's all I'm going to go to on that. And this is, and then I'm going to go into some sources. Okay, so we did that. Now here's the references. Okay, so not only we just talked about, not only does it have an effect, the mask have effect on your physical well-being, but also your mental well-being and your emotional well-being. So here's the first source is the New England Journal of Medicine. It says, and I quote, "We know that wearing a mask outside healthcare facilities offers little, if any, protection from infection." And it's not even talking about what kind of mask. So it's just saying wearing any, like a mask outside of healthcare facilities offers little to no protection. So with just what I've read so far, how it can cause those issues, the physical, emotional, and mental issues, and also it's going to offer little to no protection, why would I wear it? And that's literally sourced from the New England Journal of Medicine. Okay, let's go on to our next source. And there's more sources on their website. I'm not going to go into all of them. The next source we're going to go into is, let's see, the FDA. It says, even a properly fitted N95 mask does not prevent illness or death. Okay, that's really important. I'm going to read that again. Even a properly fitted N95 mask does not prevent illness or death. So wearing a mask is not going to prevent you from getting illness or prevent you from dying. Moving on to the CDC, it says there is no scientific evidence for healthy people wearing masks. And by the way, on all of these sources, there are links to take you to where this was stated, to the original source. Moving on to neurosurgeon Dr. Russell, he states, there is no scientific evidence that masks are effective. If you are not sick, you should not wear a face mask. Period. That's what he says. Moving on to the next source. It says Columbia University psychological. It's talking about the psychological harms of face masks. Okay, so we did mention that before, but this is talking about kids. So when people are saying like, why don't you, the comments I get, why don't you just wear a face mask? It's not just about me. I'm not just thinking about myself. That's not why I posted that. I didn't post that picture so like I could argue with myself of why it was okay and validate myself why it was okay that I didn't wear a mask. It's not just for me. There's so many people who like masks are harming more than others, right? So that one of the people said to me, like it doesn't bother me to wear it. That's great. But you're not everybody, like there are people, number one, who have who can't hear, so they read lips. They imagine what emotional struggles they're going through and mental and physical struggles they're going through because they can't understand people right now. There's kids who are wearing masks who it's so much easier, I forgot the percentage, but it's so much easier for them to be abducted and not be found. And they could literally be in plain sight with the person who abducted them and they won't be found because you can't identify somebody with a mask on. Okay? The next thing is that we're talking about people who have issues where they can't wear a mask, like a respiratory issue. And then the response that I got from that was, well, so they don't have to wear a mask. If COVID was that contagious, everyone would have to wear a mask. No one would ever be allowed to leave their home. We would have to do all delivery service to people's doors. No one would be allowed to work, and they would shut the entire country down. That's what they tried to do, but they can't legally do that. Okay, that can't happen. So there's so many other like issues with wearing the mask and with shutting business down and with COVID, not even the getting sick aspect. Like there's so many other issues that are caused. You know how many people are not able to feed their families because they had to shut down their small businesses because they had to close because some people got COVID? So moving on. Columbia University, I talked about the psychological harms of face masks. So this is another aspect to it. It states that many young children burst into tears or recoil when someone wearing a mask approaches. By putting on masks, we take away information that makes it especially difficult for children to recognize others and read emotional signals, which is unsettling and disconcerting. So here's the thing. We don't even know the long-term effect of wearing masks. I mean, we like physically maybe, but not mentally or emotionally. We don't even know like the trauma that it's causing people or the difficulty that it's causing people as they're growing up, as they're going through different stages of their lives. It can be very traumatic, and this is literally what it's talking about. The Columbia University is talking about the psychological harms of face masks, especially for young kids. Moving on. The U.S. Surgeon General Jerome Adams states masks are not effective in preventing the general public from catching coronavirus. period. That's it. And there's a link there as well. Next up, we have Dr. Anthony Fauci himself. He states, and there's a video on this. You guys can click the link if you go to the website. People should not be walking around wearing masks. Period. Next sentence. Masks do not, I'm going to repeat, do not provide the protection that people think that they do. In the video, he went on to state that it's really just so that people feel comfortable and safe. Now, I want to talk about that, feeling comfortable and safe for a moment. There's a lot of things that we do as humans that could make someone feel uncomfortable or unsafe. And obviously, we're not going out actively searching for those things and making people feel uncomfortable or unsafe. But what I do have to say is that if we were always so focused on other people, we could never be happy within ourselves. And I'll give you an example that actually is not related to health at all. I'll give you an example. So if somebody has a lot of money and they've already given to charity and they just have a lot of leftover money because maybe they did really well in business or whatever, or they invented something. They have a lot of money left over. So they go out and they want to buy a really nice car. But if they buy a really nice car, how would it make someone feel? And the reason why I'm using the word feel is because Dr. Fauci used that in his video. He says it's about making people feel a certain way, right? Feel protected. But if we're so focused on making people feel a certain way, we're not going to do what we actually need for our health and for our lives. So this person who wants to go out and buy a nice car is not going to go out and buy a nice car because it might make people feel bad that they can't afford it. And some of you might agree with that. It might make people feel bad that you have this and they don't have it. That you have a nice car, they don't have it. That you have a nice house or a big house and they don't have it. So it might make them feel bad. I cannot live my life being so concerned. I need to be aware, but being so concerned that I'm not going to do something for my health because I want to make someone else feel protected. Just so you know, it is everyone's own responsibility, complete responsibility to determine how things feel. So it's not just like, oh, I don't like that he has or she has a nice house. It's not about that. I'm determining how I feel. That is up to me. So because that person buys a nice house and it doesn't make me feel good, that's a me problem. Like it just is. So, moving on, it's not about how we make others feel. Obviously, people's feelings are extremely important, and I know that, of course. But to wear a mask to make others feel protected at what loss? And some people say it's just uncomfortable. That's fine. But for other people, it's more than just uncomfortable. And it's, like I read before, it's making them feel enslaved to what people are stating is law, which is not law. So we're going to get to that. Okay, up next, after Dr. Anthony Fauci, we have the World Health Organization. Dr. Mike Ryan states, there's no specific evidence to suggest that the wearing of masks by the mass population has any potential benefit. In fact, there's some evidence to suggest the opposite in the misuse of wearing a mask properly or fitting it properly. Okay, this is important to talk about. So many people are making their masks at home, and we're going to get into like cloth masks in a moment. But there's so many people who make their masks at home and aren't even wearing the N95s, which we already talked about, are not what we already talked about. So people are making their masks at home, and they're making it and they're wearing it for a good reason. They're wearing it because they feel like they're protecting society, and that's awesome, and their intention is great. And I truly appreciate that, and so does everybody else. The problem with that is that they're not actually protecting themselves or anybody else. So they're following like cattle. They're following what we're supposed to be doing just so it looks good, and it makes people feel safe, but it's not actually doing anything. So the problem with that is it's giving people a false sense of security and safety when there's so many other things that people can be doing for their health right now and in this moment, and they're relying on masks just to protect them. But why are there people, and that's not everybody, why are there people smoking who are wearing masks? Why are there people who are eating fast food? And I'm not saying you can never eat fast food, but why are there people eating fast food and then wearing masks? If you're so concerned about your health in this state right now, wouldn't you be doing everything you possibly could to make sure you have your top health? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Moving on. Let's see. Next. Okay. Oxygen. Okay, so the U.S. Department of Labor, OSHA, states that oxygen deficient is any atmosphere that contains less than 19.5% oxygen. So You breathe oxygen in every day and you breathe out carbon dioxide, right? So when you're breathing in oxygen and then you restrict the amount of oxygen that can go into your mouth and in through your nose, then you're not breathing the proper amount of oxygen. And if you are breathing in the proper amount of oxygen, then your mask is not working the way it's supposed to. Okay? So this happens, and this is the U.S. Department of Labor is continuing. This happens when the oxygen is displaced by like gases such as like carbon dioxide. So you're breathing out and you're continuing to breathe in the same air that you're breathing out. And it says, and this is the leading cause of fatalities. So there's a link there that takes you to the whole article, but it's very interesting. So you're breathing out carbon dioxide. So people say, oh, there's no problem, just wear the mask. No, I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to breathe in my own carbon dioxide, not get the oxygen that I'm supposed to and legally allowed to have, right? So that's a legal that is a legal matter. My oxygen is not allowed to be restricted, especially in the place that I work, but a business is not allowed to restrict my oxygen. So, and that is a big leading cause of fatalities within this issue. All right, the last source I'm going to go to is OSHA again, and it says N95 blows the virus into the air from a contaminated person. The surgical mask is not designed for the outside world and will not filter the virus upon inhaling through it. Its filtration works on the exhale. So you're protecting when you're breathing out, okay? It's like a vacuum bag. It only works one way. Cloth masks are worse than none, states OSHA. So, number one, if you're making your mask at home or if you have a cloth mask, it's not doing you any good. In fact, it's causing harm, which we just talked about with the carbon dioxide and not getting enough oxygen. And that's just the physical harm that it's causing. Number two is that even if you do have an N95, you blow the virus into the air. If a contaminated person is breathing out or is breathing in air, that's not going to protect them at all. If somebody's breathing in air from the world, the mask is not going to protect them. Okay, so there we go. Like literally, we just went through a bunch of different resources of why the mask. Any mask, not just like cloth masks, but any face mask and any face covering, and even if people lift up their shirt and walk into a store like this, it's not protecting you and it's not protecting other people for sure. Okay, so we went through a bunch of resources and through a bunch of references. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about next is the legal side of this. Okay, so if somebody medically decides, okay, I don't want to wear a mask anymore, this is not what I believe in, and it's not even about belief. This is not what the facts tell me. Like, I know the media is sharing a whole bunch of things like you need to wear masks. The media has totally changed what they're talking about. So at first they were talking about deaths because that's how you track a pandemic. And then when the deaths decreased so much, because they still want people to get that vaccine, they started talking about cases. Now, a bunch of people got COVID, and I'm not saying COVID is not real. I'm not saying COVID hasn't affected you or your family or somebody you know or love. I know people who have gotten COVID. I know people who have been affected by COVID. I know people who have passed away from COVID. And this is not to state that that's not important and that it's not a real thing. This is to state that how are you going to choose to live? Are you going to choose to live in a fear mindset, or are you going to choose to live, go out in the world, trust, have faith, and also know that you're do all the things that you can do to keep you healthy, exercise, eat healthy, take the correct vitamins that you need to take for your body, the supplements, so that you're at your best. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you drinking enough water? Are you under chiropractic care? Are you making sure that your body is functioning at a top, like the way it's supposed to? And just for those of you who don't know, chiropractic adjustments boost your immune system 139%. So, are you taking care of yourself in the best way possible? Number one. Number two, the masks don't even work, and it's not protecting you, and it's not protecting others at all. So we've addressed that, especially the cloth masks, but really any of them, and we've addressed that. And the people who are talking about wearing masks and the people who are pushing wearing masks, number one, aren't even wearing masks, and they're also saying that they don't work. So there's a lot of confusion, and I totally get why there's confusion, because the media is saying one thing, and then there's a few people who are not following the rules, and we're going to get to the legal side in a moment. So just as another thing to address is that COVID, I addressed that they have been counting cases now instead of deaths. the CDC changed on their website that only 6%, only 6, of the COVID deaths that they've been hyping up so much, 6% of the COVID deaths have come from someone who has not had an underlying health issue. So the rest, so 94% of COVID deaths have come from someone who has had an underlying health issue. Okay? And they changed this on their website without making any announcement. But you would think that's a huge thing. Like, why would they not go all over the media and share this? Well, that's because we have a lovely vaccine that's coming out soon. And so the question is, when my friends ask me, why don't you wear a mask? I say, when does it stop? Do I wear the mask and then not get the vaccine? Do I wear the mask and then get the vaccine? When does it stop? It was only supposed to be 2 weeks that we were supposed to be quarantined. It was only supposed to be, a few weeks that we had to socially distance. It would only had to be a short time that we had to wear masks. When does this end? At what point am I going to put my foot down and say, no, I'm standing up for my rights and I'm standing up for my freedom? You're right. For some people, wearing a mask into the store for 30 minutes a day is not the biggest deal. But what does that lead to? Where am I allowing that to go? And I won't do it. So, I just have to put my foot down. I know now what I believe. I know the facts, and I know there's a lot of facts countering that, and that's out there, and people are believing that. But I definitely recommend doing your own research and doing research not on the sites of the people who are stating the facts. So with the place that the media gets the information from, if that's where you're doing your research from, you're probably going to find the same thing that it's stating on the media. I just don't understand why the CDC wouldn't come out and tell us and make a huge announcement that 94% of the deaths that they've been freaking everybody out about have only been without people with underlying issues. So most of them have most of the deaths are from people who've had underlying health conditions. And the vaccine, just by the way, they want to make this vaccine mandatory. They're going to put out a vaccine in 1 year. It usually takes 7 years to process a vaccine. There's zero, because it's only taking 1 year, zero tests for long-term side effects for this vaccine. I'm not willing to inject that into my body. Moving on to the legal side of things. So that's medical. So now the legal side of things. So I know there's a lot of stores that have this up on the window. You can't enter without a mask, or we're not going to serve you if you don't have a mask on. I want to say that is illegal, totally illegal. Okay, I'm going to address why. So people are saying, isn't it kind of like the no shoes, no shirt, no service rule? No, it's not, because that is not based on that doesn't fall into the ADA Act, which is the American Disability Act. So what that means is, if you have a reason why you can't wear a mask, i.e. lack of oxygen, or a respiratory issue, and asthma is included in that, and a lot of other conditions as well, and even if you just can't function the way you're supposed to, which is anybody who puts a mask on because they're not getting their oxygen, you can walk into a store, and this is what I personally do. I will walk into a store without a mask. They will say, you need to put a mask on. I will say, I have a condition that does not allow me to do that. And they will say, what's the condition? And I will say, that is illegal for you to be asking me that. I just want to inform you. Are you sure you want to continue with the conversation? And they say, oh, it's not illegal or whatever. I'll just say, I just want to let you know. It is totally illegal for you to be asking me about this. It goes against the ADA. I can literally sue you for $75,000. And if you continue, I can sue you for $150,000. So, would you like to continue that? And the reason why I'm making this part of the video is literally for people who are struggling standing up for themselves and for their rights and for their beliefs, if this is what they believe at this point. So you do not have to share your condition with them, and you do not have to give them any explanation. All you have to do is say, I cannot wear that because of either a health condition or whatever it is you want to say. So you can, and here on the FTBA website, there's a card that you can print out, and it says face mask exempt card, and it says, I am exempt from any ordinance requiring face mask usage in public. Wearing a face mask poses a mental and or physical risk to me. Under the Americans with Disability Act, the ADA, I am not required to disclose my condition to you. On that card, it has a number of an attorney that you can call if you run into any problems, and they will help you. And it says also, if found in violation of the ADA, you could face steep penalties. Organizations and businesses can be fined up to $75,000 for your first violation and $150,000 for any subsequent violations. Denying access to your business or organization is also a violation of the Civil Rights Act and will be reported to the FTBA for further actions. So there's that. And it's talking about how to stand up on that card. It talks about how to stand up for your rights. and how to do that, because it's hard when you're in a world where everybody else is doing one thing and you don't believe that that's the right thing. And so it's hard to stand up, but you just got to do it. And there's resources on here on here to help you with that. So the legal matters, yes. So you are not allowed to be turned away from entering a store without a face mask, even though people are saying it's mandatory. What does mandatory mean? Mandatory. Question. Follow-up question. Perfect follow-up question. Is that a law? Yes or no? They're saying, no, it's not a law. It's mandatory. Great. It's not a law. I don't have to follow it. If that passes and that goes through the whole system of creating a law, great. It won't, because it's illegal and it goes against the Constitution. So it's not legal, and it's not a law. So they're going to say mandate. They say mandate. So everybody thinks that they have to wear a face mask. Everybody thinks that it's a requirement. So people say, how do you go into stores without a face mask? Just walk in. There's no law. There's they cannot stop you from going in. If they do, and they can stop you, but if they do, they can face severe legal issues and severe penalties. And I would do that, honestly. That's what I would do, because I have to stand up for my rights, because no one else is going to stand up for my rights. So I got to stand up for them, and I got to stand up for other people who maybe don't have the knowledge yet or don't have the voice to stand up for their rights yet. And I want to help people with that. So that is the legal side of things. You do not have to disclose anything that is going on with you. And it says also on this card, it says only a licensed doctor has the authority to prescribe a mask. Therefore, you are practicing medicine without a license, which is a felony offense. Illegal, once again. It also states that you are violating the Patriot Act 802 by infringing on my rights with intimidation and coercion, which has felony and civil penalties. So that means when you go to the store, it's not just the store owners that are going to be in hot water if you decide to pursue legal actions. It's actually the individuals as well. Literally, it says felony and civil penalties. So people are saying, why are you making such a big deal? We already went through it, you know? Why are you making a big deal? Because I have to stand up for my rights. I feel obligated to. I would not be able to sleep at night if I didn't do that. So, it states on there exactly how to handle anything and how to handle any objections that you get when you walk into a store. So, anyway, all in all, this whole thing is really just to talk about that you have the freedom, you have the power, you have the ability to choose what you do with your health. Make sure you're doing all the things that you can do to make sure you're super healthy during this time. I know COVID has affected people, and it's very unfortunate. At the same time, I actively choose not to live in fear, because fear suppresses your immune system. And a weak immune system is much more likely to catch viruses like coronavirus. So, make sure you stand up for your rights. Make sure you educate yourself from reliable sources, not just the media sources, but reliable sources. And if in the end you choose to wear a mask, go for it. You can wear a mask all you want. It is not your right. You can say whatever you want, but it is not your right to tell others to wear a mask, because first thing, you don't know what's going on with them. Second thing, you could choose to wear a mask, but you can't tell others to. Meaning, I could wear a blue shirt one day, but I can't tell others they have to wear a blue shirt. It's up to me. You can make the choices for your own personal health and your family's health and all that. But you can't decide the course of someone else's health unless they've given you permission. So, this is not to get people to believe in what I'm saying. This is not a belief. This is literally facts that I took from the people who told us we have to wear masks. Okay, so so honestly, just do your own research, and I really care about the world and the population and America, and I live in America actively. I was born in America, but I'm choosing to stay in America because we have these freedoms. So if we don't stand up and act now, what happens? Like, at what cost? So I'm going to wear a mask, but then when does it stop? I don't want to ever be in a situation where I have to leave America because I don't have the freedom that the Constitution has literally provided for millions of people for so many years. So I don't want to be in that situation, and that's why I'm standing up now, and I'm not waiting. I'm not waiting till it gets too bad. I see where this is going, and I'm not going to put up with it, and I really care about America, and I care about myself and my family and my friends and just even people I don't know. We chose to live here. We live in a free country. We live in an amazing country, but we also live in a quite sick country. The U.S. ranks last in healthcare in the top industrialized countries. So, no wonder we're having a lot of cases. We have a lot of people have underlying health issues. So take care of those. improve your immune system, and your body will function the way it's supposed to without living in fear, which once again suppresses your immune system. I hope everybody has an amazing day. Stand up for your rights, for your beliefs, and I love you guys, and I will see everybody soon. Have an amazing week.